Hi, I'm Greg Kyllo, your BC Liberal candidate in the shoe swap. I wanted to address Enderby District Chamber of Commerce. We were provided with a number of questions earlier today, and of course we're in the final throes of the election campaign, but I just wanted to provide for those of you that might be listening just a bit of insight in respect to the BC Liberal Party and kind of what our campaign platform is, and myself as your candidate, as your MLA for the last 7 years. Just kind of a bit of my perspective on some of these very important issues that affect all of us here in the Shuswap region. One of the questions that was provided was, in essence, talking about the economy. And we have a look at the economy of our province with a $13.5 billion deficit. I think everyone can realize this is the worst, most significant deficit that we've actually had in the history of our province. And we also are faced with one of the highest unemployment rates in recent history. So it is very important that any government have a look at increasing the revenues to government, and by doing that, you need to focus on growing the economy. It is something that the BC Liberal brand is very well known for. Something we've always focused on is that with a growing economy that will provide more revenues to government, and of course providing those all-important family supporting jobs. The current government, the NDP, unfortunately, seem to be focused more on a spending plan. And although spending is very important for programs and services, you also have to have your mind on the economy. With a bigger economy, with more people working, there'll be more taxes flowing to government. And one of the very important pillars of our election platform is actually the elimination of the provincial sales tax for 1 year and then reducing that to 3% in the second and subsequent years until our economy gets back on track. There's a lot of capital that is actually not outflowing in the economy right now, and it's very important that governments provide that incentive to businesses and individuals, keeping more money in their pocket and then putting more money back into the economy. And so the PST holiday for a full year is one of the very most critical areas of how we can actually supercharge BC's economy. When we talk about transportation, there was a question that was provided by a resident of the Enderby area of the Broom Bridge replacement project, which kind of surprises me because it is in Sicamous. But in any event, it is important for any government to have a look at increasing the flow of traffic and improving safety for all of our roadways throughout British Columbia. Specifically when it comes to Highway number 1, you have seen significant improvements in Highway 1 from 2013 to 17. We had a couple of big projects just east of Revelstoke with two over 3 kilometer 4-laning projects and new bridges over both the Eagle River as well as the Perry River at Skyline. So those projects were designed, they were built, delivered, and those were all completed to the benefit of British Columbians from 2013 to 17. One of the other projects I was very happy to announce when I was your MLA and back in 2016 was the Salmon Arm West Highway construction project, a very significant 6.1 kilometer 4-laning stretching, including replacement of the Salmon River Bridge. Unfortunately, in 3.5 years, that project has barely got off the ground. We certainly haven't seen any benefit from that project to motorists to date. But specifically to the Broom Bridge replacement project, so this is the Broom Bridge in Sicamous, crossing the Sicamous Channel. There was a number of options that were provided to residents in the Shuswap area. And unfortunately, Ministry of Transportation and Highways and the current NDP government have determined to move forward with a project that actually wasn't supported by local community. And as we look at potential 4-laning options in the Enderby area, I think it's really important that governments take into consideration concerns of local residents and especially local mayors and councillors who are looking out for the best interests of their local community. Unfortunately, with the Broom Bridge replacement project in Sicamous, that is not the case. And it is apparent that the Ministry of Transportation are moving forward with a replacement project that does not provide the proper connections between the east and west side of the Sicamous Narrows. And I certainly have concern with respect to that. A government needs to listen and to take into consideration some of those very important needs of local communities. I was talking to a local mayor just recently. I said, the decisions today will have a significant impact on the development of our communities 30, 40 years from now. And it's really important that the decisions today make sure that the connectivity of our communities are not overlooked, so we don't end up with different communities developing and competing with one another. Now is the time to make sure that we get this right. Should the BC Liberal government, or should I be fortunate enough to be your MLA and we form government, I've made a commitment to Sicamous and surrounding residents that we would open things up, put all the options back on the table, because I think it is very important that local government has a voice at the table and they are able to better direct and to have the input into the options for highway improvements through our communities. ICBC, a couple of questions came in with respect to ICBC, and I know that something residents have been very concerned about. I am happy to say, as a BC Liberal member who was part of the government from 2013 to 17, we did not see escalating ICBC rates during that period. The escalating costs of ICBC only seemed to come into play after the NDP took office. And the reasons for that are multiple and endless, including increasing costs of vehicle repairs, number of participants in a vehicle have actually gone up. Interesting point, a vehicle accident that used to only have 1.4 passengers, as an example, has actually increased to about 1.7. So for every traffic accident, there was potentially more bodily injury claims, and that was one of the cost drivers impacting ICBC. But unfortunately, the current government chose to increase rates significantly over the last 3 years, and their solution is to actually provide a lesser service to residents and take away choice by moving strictly to a no-fault. BC Liberal government would provide a choice to consumers. We would open it up so that private corporations could actually compete for your insurance business. Competition is good. When we see increased levels of competition, prices typically come down. And although ICBC and no fault would still be moving forward, British Columbians would have choice. You would not be required to only purchase your insurance from ICBC. So, as a free enterpriser, a democratic process, I think, and free choice should be paramount in everything that we do here in our province. When it comes to the rates of crime, we've seen a significant increase in the amount of crime, and especially with overdose-related deaths. And our government, our BC Liberal platform, would actually put another $58 million annually into the RCMP service. There's a program that's been very successful down in Kamloops. I believe it's called Car 40. And that particular program would provide either a psychiatric nurse or a social worker in the car with the RCMP for many of these instances, many calls out by the RCMP. There are folks that have underlying health or mental health challenges, and locking them up or putting them behind bars is not necessarily the right place for those individuals. And so $58 million to hire 100 additional new RCMP officers across the province and 200 social health care workers to focus on trying to identify the underlying cause and then to try and put people on a path to recovery. So it's something I'm very proud of. One of the other concerns I've heard just locally recently is that School District 83 is apparently projecting a $2 million deficit this year. That's a significant concern. School district has had challenges with funding in the past. Largely it was attributable to declining enrollment. The provincial funding formula for school districts does take into consideration the actual enrollment numbers. Whether the deficit that's being experienced by School District 83 is due to reduced number of kids in the area, or maybe more parents wanting to have more choice and maybe keeping their kids at home. In any event, the $2 million deficit is something I'm very concerned about. I have yet to have the opportunity to actually speak with our school district trustee to find out what the underlying cause is and where that is and what the solutions may be, because unfortunately John Horgan put us into the snap election. So rather than otherwise being able to do my job in representing the local Shuswap area and have those direct conversations with the school board trustee and the school superintendent to find out what the underlying cause is and what the solutions may be, they'll have to wait until after the election. But it certainly would be My responsibility and something I'd want to entertain is to have a better understanding of what's happening with the school district so we don't see a reduction in service levels at our schools throughout the Shuswap. Seniors, we know in this area, because it's so beautiful, we have a significant seniors population. I've spoken before on social media about, the fact that our seniors have worked hard. They've paid their taxes their entire lives. They've helped to build this beautiful province and this beautiful area that we all call home. And it is important that we provide those necessary supports. One of the things we'd be looking to do, and it's a significant pillar of our election platform, is $1 billion. So that's $1,000 million. $1 billion in new capital funding over the next 5 years, so $200 million a year, to help increase the number of seniors care facilities, as well as to move away from dual room occupancy. When we look at COVID and the impact that has had on our seniors care facilities, we work diligently to try and move towards single room occupancy for all of our seniors care facilities. Now, in addition to that, one of the other things that we'll be bringing in is a $7,000 tax credit. So for seniors that may be aging in their own homes, that might want to have in-home support care, or maybe be required to make additional renovations to their homes to make their home more senior-friendly, a $7,000 annual tax credit for seniors to help provide supports. It's a time when I think the safest and the best place for our seniors population is to assist them to age in their own home, not necessarily to be moving them into an institution, especially in light of COVID. And well, thank you very much for listening in. If you've got to the very end of this monologue about many of the different issues and ways that a BC Liberal government could actually help this region of the province, it has been my pleasure and honor to serve as your MLA, and I hope that I can count on your continued support. Please, on October 24th, vote Greg Kyllo, your BC Liberal candidate, here in the Shuswap.